Good evening, everyone. Tonight's a special night because it's in many, many ways, but it's our last meeting of this year. And so I would like to start again with acknowledging all of those who have gone before us and cleared our path, but especially the Duwamish Nation upon whose land we stand. And I'll start with another little Native American saying, which is very short. You will be known for ever for the footprints we leave. So thank you again. And tonight it's our pleasure to introduce you to our own Bernice Kastner. And Bernice spent her early years in Montreal, Canada. And at that time in her high school, the boys and girls were in separate classes, and only the science that was taught to them was biology. And she attended McGill University in Montreal, where she became interested in physics. When she finally had the opportunity to learn it and graduated with a BSc in honors mathematics and physics. She married the year before she graduated, having met her husband at the McGill Physics Society meeting. Bernice and Sid came to the USA when Sid decided to attend graduate school in Syracuse, New York, where the two daughters were born. After the Soviet launch of Sputnik, there was a big push for people who had a background in math and science to become teachers. And of course, our Bernice stepped forward, responded, and received a master's degree in mathematics education. Although they had planned to return to Canada, Sid was recruited by NASA's Goddard Space Flight Center in Maryland after he graduated, where their son was born. She returned to graduate school at that time at the University of Maryland and earned a PhD in the mathematics education. She has taught mathematics in junior high school and at the college level. She's an author of 3 books, Applications of Secondary School Mathematics, Space Mathematics, and the role of language in teaching children math. And it is with pleasure and honor that we welcome Bernice at this time with her story.
Well, I'm happy to pick up the story about the Navajo Math Circles. I will say that about 4 years after I moved here, the 2016 joint mathematics meetings took place here in Seattle. And I was much more ambulatory in those days than I am right now. It was an easy walk down to the convention center. And I had spent some time after my first retirement as a volunteer at the Mathematical Association of America. And so it was be more to visit again and see some people that I knew that I went to the meeting. Although I was interested in many of the things that were happening at the meeting, I really went to because I knew so many people. Well, fortunately, that was the meeting at which the Navajo Math Circles was released. And so I attended that session, and it blew me away. And we have shown, I bought the film, and we own it. And if you were able to see it when we showed it on Friday, then you know why I was so blown away. Since we own it, if you did not have the opportunity to see it and you want to see it, you can borrow it if you want to, because it's here in the building. So let's get on to the next. Okay, So some history about the Native Americans. They had very intricate numerical systems. One interesting thing about the way the Native Americans viewed motion, they had different words. For example, if they wanted to describe a snake sleeping on a rock, the sleeping on a rock had a certain verb. But if they wanted to describe the snake, the snake had a certain word that also included the fact that it was sleeping on a rock, or that it was sleeping. But if it was moving, then it had a different word, because motion was different than just standing still. So in many ways, these native civilizations looked at life a whole lot different than the way we did. But there is this history that they've always been innovators and interested in it. Okay, I hope that's legible. So before the Europeans came, there was a lot of the arrival of the Europeans destroyed a lot of the Native American cultures, but they had already demonstrated this interest. Now, in World War II, the Navajo code talkers were honored for their bravery and because they were good at cryptography. And so here's a quotation from one of the people in this project. "Mathematics is in our blood." And he's of the Navajo Bitterwater and Zuni Edgewater clans, and he's an associate professor of mathematics at Navajo Technical University. Our Navajo women are the knowledge keepers, and they install the love for mathematics into children at an early age. Did I go backwards? Yes. Okay, let me. So here's how the math circles work. The students participate in a lively collaboration with mathematicians. The students stay late after school and assemble over the summer at Diné College in Sale, Arizona, I'm probably not pronouncing the Sale right, to study mathematics. The Math Circles approach emphasizes student-centered learning by putting children in charge of exploring mathematics to their own joy and satisfaction. Am I there already? Yeah. Okay, so now we're going to show you a little film about the follow-up of this, what they're doing now.
The more I look, I said, we want to promote math literacy across Navajo Nation because I care for my Navajo people. I want them to do better in life than me. I want them to go higher than me.
If I go straight against the wall, it goes straight back. Good. If I come in diagonally, let's see what happens. If I go diagonally against the wall, it is good. So that's what we're gonna play. Good, but we're gonna do it with pencil and paper because we are mathematicians. We don't work with real boards. Good. Let's everybody start in the bottom left corner on your paper.
First, like my idea. Yeah, I'm doing 4 by 5. See what happens. 4 by 5.
Math Circle is a safe place for kids to enjoy and discover beautiful mathematics.
Math circles are a way to involve professional mathematicians with students and teachers at all grade levels. So it's an opportunity for mathematicians to reach out and get involved and share their enthusiasm for mathematics, just exposing the students to what it means to think mathematically.
We added 20 plus 12, which is the faces plus the vertices, because when you cut off, how you make it is you cut off the vertices of the icosahedron, and then that's 1,404. 40.
It's always been, math is hard. My parents never understood it. It's always been downgraded. It's always been in a negative light all these years. But with the Navajo Nation Math Circles, what it does is it brings new light onto the subject of math, and it's not all about, test taking, and it's not all about really hard things that the students have to do. It's something that kind of gets their interest, and it kind of sparks that curiosity within them to kind of learn something new about math.
See, look, this piece is the same as this piece, one whole, one half, then two. You figured this one out?
I know a couple of the students. One of them was a math camp student. She was kind of sitting there talking with one of the other students, like, wait, there's got to be a different way to do this. I know we drew some pictures. Let's really look at what we're doing, work with the numbers. So that's the kind of reasoning where they can see the concrete examples of what they're doing, and then they take that into an abstract level.
We really believe that in the math circle, a problem should be something that might lead very deep into mathematics, and quite often the problems that our kids are working on eventually lead to open questions in mathematics.
We have open-ended questions. Open-ended questions are totally new to most of the kids. Usually you have to have an answer within 20 seconds, 30 seconds. That's what math is. The answers actually don't matter. The more questions, we're opening whole research programs, and that is something totally new to the kids. And once they like it, it's just amazing. It's transformative.
It was an enrichment for your mind. Think of something more above the ordinary.
The Ba Hojo of the Navajo Math Circles, the Hojo refers to beauty and harmony together. As far as we know, we're the only math circle that combines Navajo culture with our mathematics activity, and we're trying to strike exactly that balance, that beauty, and that harmony.
And so I've seen this interweaving of not only the math portion, but the math portion directly coming and stemming from who we are as Navajo people.
We want to engage our learners, and in order for us to do that, we have to have things that they can play with, things that they can move with their hands, because they're more kinesthetic learners. As Navajos, we've already have that connection with mathematics in our culture, because our grandmothers were weavers. They weaved and they construct geometric shapes on the rugs. And it seemed the pottery that they made, the Navajo basket that they wove, there was always a geometric shape.
And so I carefully looked at each one separately, and since I divided each to 4, I also divided 72 by 4, which is 18.
The numbers and the way you can find patterns out of it. It's cool. You just find new things about it.
Without our project, we would not have known that they are talented, that they are geniuses, that they can change the world because of their remarkable abilities. And we want to find these kids and help these kids.
I've usually thought I was dumb, that I wasn't really smart. But then I actually got to know myself, and I realized that I am smart. I can do it if I put my mind to it, and I believe that for everyone. If you have a goal in mind and you really want it, you can do it. You just have to believe in yourself, and you just have to push.
So after the film was released, the staff established a website and developed a newsletter because they got many requests from other mathematics, especially the people. The word got out after the meeting. And so they're on their website, and anyone can access it. You just go, you just put in Navajo Math Circles, and all kinds of information will come up. And I just took this, what you're going to see now, I took off their website. So they show how they bring mathematicians to schools in the Navajo Nation to help as they worded it, to facilitate awesome mathematics with students during the school day. And you saw a small sample of that. There are a couple of other films on their website too, but I chose the shortest one to not spend the whole time on a film here. And they bring mathematicians to facilitate high-quality, content-based professional development with teachers from the Navajo schools. Whoops. They operate I probably won't say this correctly, the Bahajo Summer Camp, which is a 2-week non-residential camp at the Navajo Technical University when kids from grades 6 to 12 come. They hold an annual math festival for any kid, and then, as they put it, and the many kids at heart who bring them. They provide mentorship to students and teachers trying to do the work of engaging students in good mathematics. They provide scripts for teachers to use so they can share some of this as the same inspiring mathematics wherever they choose. This is not textbook math. Scripts are cool kinds of problems that got under your skin and ask for playfulness and persistence. Whoops, I'm not yet ready to do that. I think I skipped one. No, that's it. Okay, so they also have a newsletter. Also, if you go to their website, if you have any interest in this, there are lists and lists of things that you can look at. I didn't want to carry the ball, copy the ball and put them here. And in there, they have newsletters that they send out. And in the 2023 newsletter, they said we reached one exciting milestone. Each of our summer camps has featured a pair of Indigenous role models who work in the science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. This year, one of the role models was Charmaine Seaton. Charmaine attended our very first summer camp as a middle school student in 2013. She has now completed her undergraduate degree and is working on a PhD in biomedical engineering. She was able to describe some of the challenges she overcame to graduate and give specific advice to Diné students. She also described how mathematical modeling could help her as she studied diabetes. Now, Charmaine is the person you saw at the end of this film. That's the very same person that you actually shot. I didn't realize this until after I had put this all together, and then when I looked at it, oh, that's Charmaine, of course. And so this is all I've actually prepared, because I'm hoping that maybe we can have a little conversation if you want to know more about this, because it's a very fascinating approach. And there are teachers who are using it now by simply setting aside one day a week to do these kinds of problems. And they find that their students go back to doing the ordinary math curriculum with much greater interest, because they can see the potential for what can happen in the future. And so this is very short. I'm sorry, I should have put in more, but I didn't. And so maybe we'll spend some time with question and answer.
There it is. Okay, Bernice, I'm going to sign up for a Horizon House Math Circle. I would love to revisit math in this way. And I think there's more amongst us that might do that. Tell me you'll do that for us.
Yes, if there's enough interest, I would certainly be willing to organize a Horizon House Math Circle. We have other people here who might be willing to participate. No? Okay.
We lived on the reservation for 5 years. It was from... It was in the 80s? Yeah. Yeah, we lived on the Navajo.
Did you learn math?
Did I learn math? No, I already knew math.
This was probably before 2016.
Oh, yeah, no, we lived there from late 70s to early 80s, yeah. It was a magic time, it really was. At any rate. Huh? What was your role while you were there? I put in water systems, drilled wells, wastewater systems, that type of thing. That's.
Hold the mic close to your mouth so we can hear what.
I put in water systems and wastewater systems and drilled wells, that type of thing. Yeah, it was. Well, as a matter of fact, for the first 2 years, I was there as a public health service officer, but then I was detailed to the tribe, and we moved into Window Rock, and that was our youngest daughter was born there. At any rate, it was a great time. The thing that I would mention has nothing to do with math. Navajos are really spooked by death, really spooked by death. And as a matter of fact, if someone is going to die in a hogan, they try and get them out, because a death hogan, if they die in the hogan, there's this one place on the Navajo. Well, making a long story short, it's a tremendous water source. But right in front of this hogan is a death hogan, and there's no way in the world we'll ever be able to use it.
Thank you. Bernice, do you know anything more about the students who were in the film? In other words, did they go back to school, and how did this knowledge of mathematics affect their learning in general in other areas, in other fields, history, English, whatever?
Well, there's a lot of information on the website, but a lot of it is very specifically aimed at teachers of mathematics. What they're trying to do is reach the mathematics education community to have them do more of this hands-on kind of thing. Now, having spent some time teaching in the school, in the junior high school, I will say that the way we operate our schools does make it very difficult for teachers to do this kind of thing. For one thing, that the load is simply, you see too many students every day. I was able to I did an experiment one year, and I would have liked to continue it, but that year I was teaching 5 classes in a 7-period day. There were at least 30 students in each class. I needed my 2 planning periods, and it was never enough. I went home every night with an armload of books and papers to read. And what I saw was most of the teachers, what they did was they said, "Oh, I have my students grade each other's homework." Well, then I said, then how do you know what the students need from you? If you're not looking at what they're doing, how can you help them? You don't expect the students to be teaching them as well. And so this is very difficult. Now, had I gone back to that school the next year in the 7-period day, I would have had 6 classes and only 1 planning period. I mean, that's when I decided to go back to graduate school, and and that's the big problem in the school system is we expect too much of our teachers. with not enough time to do it. If I hadn't had children myself, I could have spent my entire evening marking the papers, but I had a family to take care of as well, and it was impossible for me to spend that much time looking at the student work.
I just want to say, and then Bonnie, you're next. One of my kids attended Leschi in a period when the federal government invested some money in experimental math program developed in Berkeley. And it was to give these kids confidence, and it was non-traditional math approach. And the kids absolutely loved that program and got very high grades in math, and gave them the confidence that, yes, they could spell and they could read if they could do the numbers. So it's such an important subject.
It is. Yes, it is. It's really important.
Bernice, what I saw in there that excited me was the fact that it teaches you to think out of the box. And so here come your future scientists, and like the young woman going on to advanced studies.
Absolutely.
That's what just excited me about the program.
Yeah. Yes, I mean, and there's much more of it. Because we were showing the entire film on Friday, I decided not to bring, of course, if I had brought the film to this session, it would have taken up the whole session, and but there's a lot more of it on the film.
I have two questions. The first one is for Joan. Did their exposure to the kind of math your children have carry on through the upper grades?
I didn't do a study on the students.
No, your children.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, it did.
Okay. Then the second question is for you, Bernice. What is the difference between a Navajo math circle and a Swedish math circle? This is not a joke.
I don't know. I don't know what the Swedish math circles are.
Well, I don't know what a Navajo math circle is.
But in some of the writings, when I went to their to their page, they do talk about the fact that in the European system, there is much more interaction between the students. Now, I can tell you that when my son had his sabbatical in France, my grandson had to go to the international school, but the international school was more on the European mode. The reason he had to go to the international school was because he would have been in grade 9, and that was the first year of the formal high schooling, and so if it was to be counted towards his graduation, he had to go there. Well, having that year in France, in the international school, it awoke in him an interest in math that he hadn't had before. He used to be a math avoider, and that year in that school in France brought him back a young man interested in math, and he's now a professional in the field of oceanography. And he visited me recently, and what we talked about was the difficulties having teaching oceanography to students who are math avoiders. Because he said, you can't do it without calculus. So I have to teach them calculus because they've been avoiding it, but now they want to know oceanography, so I have to teach them some calculus.
In the early 70s, there was a professor at the university, our university, by the name of Square Partee. I will never forget that name. He was a mathematician. His specialty was to develop this kind of math so that kids with any ability would see the logic and would be able to reach calculus. You know, they could understand however he was explaining it. So one day we had invited him to one of our classes in my girls' elementary school. This was 5th grade. So he was working with a class. He said, all right, now 2 is what? How many agree that 2 and plus 2 is 4? Everybody agreed. And so he kept going, 2 plus 2, 2 plus 4. 4 times 4. How much is 4 times 4? How much is, and then he just kept going. 4 to the square root of 4. I can't remember anyway, and I'm not a mathematician, and I couldn't follow up beyond a certain point. But what he did, and he had the students with him, they went up to calculus. My husband was there also, and he was following too, and he says, he lost. I mean, my husband lost him at a certain point. The kids didn't. These were 5th graders. They were not geniuses. But he was so logical. He reached the thinking of the kids. It was phenomenal. I don't know whatever happened to him. I don't know whether he ever went into the public schools, but his intent was to teach the other teachers how to do math logically. And I mean, he was truly phenomenal.
Square Party was the person that innovated the system that we experienced at Leschi. Yeah.
I wish Jenny Stimson was here because she has gone worldwide teaching math to math teachers.
Well, I did a certain amount of that too. And, you know, one of the big problems that we have that has caused a great setback is that when the new math came in, now that was during, the new math came in at the time that I was just starting my graduate work. And it was a marvelous idea. However, it was the bottleneck. The reason the new math failed, the new math failed for 2 reasons. One was that the people who were writing the textbooks at the time got carried away. They tried to do too much abstract at too early a grade. I mean, I could remember I was teaching the course for future elementary school teachers. This was right after I started my graduate program, and I was teaching the course for people who wanted to be teachers. And once one of my students came in and sat in the back of the room and was muttering away, and clearly he had everyone's attention. So I stopped what I was doing, and I said, well, you have to share what you're talking about back there with all of us, because it's clearly much more interesting than what I'm doing. And what he said was, do you know what they want these first graders to understand? Because this was in a first grade textbook. They were introducing set theory in grade 1. And he said they want those little kids to understand that if you combine a set with 4 balls in it, and one of them is red, and the others are all different colors, and the other set has, say, 6 balls, and also one of them is red, that in the combined set, you're only looking at what colors have you got. You're not looking at how many balls have you got. And so they want the kids to think in that way. And so that's where the textbook writers got carried away. But the class that I was working with, the mentor I had at the time, what she did was make sure that the future elementary school teachers had 3 full semesters of math themselves. And that's the big problem, because the future elementary school teachers, the education departments say they don't have time in their schedule to take 3 math courses. And so they only get 1, and they don't know enough math. And so that's where a lot of our problems are, because they're afraid of the math themselves, and what they pass on to their students is that fear of the subject.
I can attest to that because I, in college, had a roommate who was a math major, and it was amazing what she did with kids.
Okay, Nancy and Bernice will let you know when the Navajo Math Circle.
No, that's the Horizon House Math Circle.
And the Horizon
We'll have to
House
find a
Math
time.
Circle is going
and
to
call a
meet.
meeting, and I will prepare some materials for you.
Told you this is our last meeting, that our next meeting will be in January, and it will be January 15, and we're in for a huge treat. It's a program offered by the African American Cultural Ensemble, and this is a gospel group, very professional. They've performed around Seattle for our sports teams and at Microsoft and places like that. There was a fee, and I'm happy to say our philanthropy committee approved the amount of money we needed to get that group here, and they formed this group because they felt it's totally black group. They felt like life, not only for themselves, but for all of us, needs the healing that comes from music, especially gospel music. So January 15th, they will be here in Anderson Hall.
And I want to say a few closing words, and that's thank all of you for supporting us. And also, what a thrill it has been for me and an honor to work with my diversity awareness group and people like Joan, Jean Singler, and everyone who's brought us such wonderful programs this last year. We've had a wonderful venue, and we already have booked through April next year. And I would like to close with an Apache blessing. May the sun bring you new energy by day. May the moon softly restore you by night. May the rain wash away your worries. May the breeze blow strength into your being. And may you walk gently through the world and know its beauty all the days of your life. And thank you to Risa and always our crew that supports us. And thank you all for supporting us here too. It's been my pleasure. You've made my heart sing this last year, so thank you.